Well, thank you again for joining on this Monday evening. My name is Keisha Alexander. I am, okay, I see a couple more people are joining. Welcome. We're just now getting started. My name is Keisha Alexander. I am an owner of a care home. So I do have a 6-bed RCFE. I also run a placement agency, and I am one of the co-founders of Find Caraline. So my sister and I created Find Caraline, which is a placement website. So it's amazing. Families can set up their own tours. They can browse different care homes, and you as a care home owner can receive organic leads without having to pay placement agencies for that lead. So we decided to launch this training for you all because we've always been very passionate about caring for our seniors and providing the best possible care. And I know I've been passionate. I'm a social worker at core, so I've always been passionate about helping the most vulnerable of those populations. So I wanted to be able to share this information with like-minded individuals. I know there's a lot of buzz out there about CalAIM. What is it? How does it work? So I'm hoping to be able to answer all of those questions for you today so that you can then be able to accept those individuals who are approved for CalAIM, because there's definitely a need. When you leave today, I want you all to feel confident that you have the tools needed to be able to accept CalAIM eligible residents and to be able to help them apply for CalAIM, because you'll get those phone calls as well. So today we'll talk about what CalAIM is. We'll talk about why it impacts you and why you should care. We'll talk about how it works, some of the common mistakes when submitting applications, and some best practices, what winners do to be like that preferred care home so that you're receiving these CalAIM referrals. And then we'll talk about next steps. Before we get started, I'm curious to just hear like what the audience represents out there. Are you all care home owners? Are you in the process of starting a care home? If you could just jump in on the chat and let me know if you're a loved one caring for a family member caring for a loved one, or if you actually own the board and care, so I know who I'm speaking with. This benefits all of us, I feel, because if you have someone call you that is unable to get the care that they need, now you have the knowledge to be able to help them get the care that they need so that they're safe and in a loving environment. And if you own a care home or you know someone who owns a care home, now you have the knowledge to be able to keep your beds filled. And I know that's a game changer for us that own care homes, because the turnover and, if your bed isn't full, then you're not getting the revenue that you need to be successful. So we'll move forward to the next slide. Thank you so much, Irene, community health worker. Thank you. Okay, perfect. So CalAIM is a community support program. So it's through Medi-Cal. So basically a couple years ago, I think it was exactly 3 years ago now, Medi-Cal decided that they are going to start assisting those individuals that have a medical or a behavior need for care. So not everyone will qualify, but if you do have a non-medical need, but you need that assistance and you need the housing, there are resources, and Medi-Cal is now willing to pay for that. Honestly, I just think they got smart, because this makes sense. You might as well pay a care home versus paying a hospital and having those rehospitalizations and having individuals that aren't taking their medication on time, or they're falling, or they're not eating properly, and now they're in skilled nursing or they're in the hospital. And you can imagine how expensive those bills can be for an insurance company. So this program, it of course benefits our community, but it definitely makes financial sense. And the insurance companies have given us their commitment to pay for the life of these individuals that are approved for CalAIM. So the insurance companies pays for it, and this benefits RCFEs, this benefits ARFs, adult residential facilities, care facilities for the elderly, because now we don't have to turn away folks that don't have the finances. If they have Medi-Cal, we can assist them in getting financial assistance, and we can keep them safe in a loving environment. So they're not just left with, here because this is all I can afford. Now they have more options. I'm not sure if you all are aware, but 1 in 3 beds are currently vacant right now. So when you're looking for resources for a family that is looking for a care home, there are vacancies. Usually it boils down to finances, and that's where Medi-Cal comes into play. There are 14 million Medi-Cal members that potentially could qualify for a CalAIM if they know about it and if they have someone that can assist them in applying for that. And of course, if they have the medical need for the benefit. The average cost for care is about $5,000 per month. And that could go up. Sometimes you can get something lower depending on if you want to share a room or if you're more independent and don't require a lot of care. But could you imagine having to pay $5,000, you as a loved one, on top of your own bills? That's a pretty steep bill. So, having CalAIM benefits definitely is a value add and has saved many lives because now they can afford that. CalAIM would actually kick in majority of that cost. Yes, there is a financial responsibility for the family. So if they get Social Security or a pension, they are responsible for 90% of their income, but anything above that, CalAIM will cover. So even if the price is $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, if they need that medical care, the insurance companies through the CalAIM program will pay for that. Okay, perfect. So this is the 5-step process. The first step would be for you to identify a CalAIM participant or someone that could potentially be approved for CalAIM. Typically, you would get these referrals from social workers at the hospital, caseworkers, care coordinators. So a care coordinator normally works with a vendor of Medi-Cal. So some of the vendors for this program that we're speaking about today would be like Master Care, Libertano, Care Connect, Concise. There's a few of them. And depending on what county, because I know we had Alameda County, LA County, Riverside County, depending on the county, they may have different vendors that they partner with. But those are some of the well-known ones. And those care coordinators may call you and ask, hey, do you have room for this person? Can you take someone with CalAIM? And sometimes you'll identify a resident. Maybe they come into your clinic or your hospital and they need care, but they don't have the budget. They only have $1,000. And of course, $1,000 doesn't go a long way if you need care. And when you identify that person, now you can assist in helping them to find out if they're eligible. So once you identify that resident, then you would work with a CalAIM vendor. So the ones that I mentioned before, Master Care, Libertano, Care Connect, Concise, and there's others out there as well. The reason why you have to work through one of those vendors is because Medi-Cal does not want to hear from every boarding care owner, every social worker, every hospital. So they have vendors that they personally work through and they kind of manage the applications and submit the paperwork for us. So once you work with the care coordinator to see if they're eligible, then it's about gathering all the documentations. You'll have to gather their medical history, their financial documentation, their medical assessment, their med list. There's a list of documents that you'll gather. It's really not, it can be challenging because some of the documents you want to make sure are filled out correctly. And that's why it's important that when you're gathering the documents, you're reviewing every page to make sure that everything's completed, the doctor signed, they got their TB results before you submit those documents for approval. You can go ahead and submit it, but if you missed the page, if you didn't sign, if you didn't dot or check the box, they're going to delay the process for you. They're going to come back and ask more questions. And now they're, looking at everything with a fine tooth comb. So it's important to gather all the documents, make sure they're completed correctly, and then submit. Once you submit, I will share that it does take about, I would say, at least 2 months. HealthNet is they're quicker. I've seen approvals come in within 6 to 8 weeks. LA Care, it's more like 3 months, 3.5 months. Kaiser is more like 4 months. It's a little bit longer, but it does take a couple months. But at least it's not, I don't know if you've heard of the assisted living waiver. That takes 2 years. So this is a lot quicker to get approved. And then once you're approved, then comes the placement. So it sounds like a lot of you are doing resources for our community. So once they're approved, you can then assist them in finding a care home that's willing to accept CalAIM. Now, if you're submitting paperwork for your care home, at that point, once they're approved, now you can move them in and you can start invoicing whatever the charges are you're charging for their care. Okay. Perfect. Now, these are some of the mistakes that can cost facilities referrals and that can, cost your family members delays in getting the care that they need. So if you're submitting packages with missing documents, of course, that is going to delay the entire process. They're going to come back to you. They're going to ask for one form. You'll submit it, and then they may come back and ask for the same form. So don't get frustrated. They're human just like us, and they have huge workloads. So they may ask you for something that you sent. Just go ahead, send it in, so that you're not delaying the process. Responding slowly will delay the process for you, and it could potentially make the care coordinator want to proceed with another care home, or proceed with another facility. So make sure that if they're reaching out to you, respond in a timely manner, get right back to them if they're requesting documents as well. And of course, have strong communications, be very professional. It can be frustrating when they're asking you for a form that you've submitted, but be very professional and really find out what exactly they're missing and why you're resubmitting it. But also, be very kind and professional so that they still want to work with you, and have a system in place. If you're working with multiple families, you want to have a spreadsheet. You want to be able to track when you submitted certain applications, who you last spoke to, what was the update, because these families are desperate. They need care and they're waiting for updates. So you want to stay very organized as well, so that you're not delaying the process. Before I move on to this slide, let me pause for a second just to make sure. Are there any questions out there? Okay. Okay. Well, if there are any questions, drop it in the chat. I have the chat box open, so I'll do my best to answer those questions in a timely manner. But if there are any questions, let me know or unmute. Feel free to chime in. Um, okay, so now let's talk a little bit about what successful facilities do differently. This slide is really designated to the facilities that are bringing in the loved ones, but this is great advice for you to share with those facilities, because I'm sure you're partnering with the families and you're partnering with the facilities to find the right placement for them. But what successful facilities normally do is they respond quickly. I know I mentioned that. Try to respond within an hour. If they're calling you and they have a referral for you, try to respond within an hour. Have all your documents ready to go. If you're working with Master Care versus Libertano, find out. They'll give you a list of documents that they need. Make sure you have the most recent document. I know the medical assessment recently changed last month. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with it, but it's the LIC 602A. There's a brand new form that just came out in April, actually. So make sure you have that updated form. Make sure you're submitting their insurance card, their ID, their financial letter, so that they know how much they're responsible for when it comes to their care. Make sure you're building relationships. The person you're talking to in your area is probably going to be the same person that approves all of your families, all of your seniors, or, I mean, this program's not just for seniors. I'm focusing on seniors because that's my passion, but this is focused on vulnerable populations. So folks at risk of homeless, folks that are maybe in a domestic abusive relationship. So there's so many different programs under this umbrella that your community can benefit from. But I'm just focused on our elderly. And make sure that you're using good language, you're using their language. If they're asking, hey, you didn't send our application, like, know what they're talking about, because they'll have bullet points and they'll have each form labeled and it's in their words, their terminology. So you want to use their terminology when you're speaking with them, so they know, like, okay, you're an expert in this business. I trust that you got the right paperwork. I don't need to, dig through every little thing that you've sent us before submitting. And then have a system. So when I submit a referral, I always follow up within 3 days. If I haven't heard back from them, I follow up and send an email for an update. Once I know who the case manager is and they've submitted my paperwork, I give them maybe 2 weeks and then I follow up. I want to be the squeaky wheel so that I get it approved as soon as possible. I find when I just let things go in the wind, they'll wait the full 3 months before approval. But when I'm calling every 2 weeks, oh, just checking in, hope's all well. Do you have everything you need from me? Then I'm getting it approved a lot quicker. So don't be afraid to just check in professionally. Be consistent with that. Always be reliable, especially with the families that you're helping as well. Of course, you know they're stressed out and they really need the care, and it's a long process. So just be consistent in your communication with them as well. And track everything. Have a good tracking system so that none of your families fall through the crack. It's the hear a family call and say, hey, I haven't heard anything in 4 months. And then you reach out and they're like, I was waiting for you to call me back. and you never got the message because they dialed the wrong number. So track everything and follow up on your leads as well. Perfect. So today we did the overview. So this was just an overview about CalAIM so that you understand what CalAIM is, why it should matter, especially to owners out there. There's so many families that need a bed, and a lot of our boarding cares aren't familiar with it. So the people on this call, even if you don't own a care home, you may know someone, you may partner with them. I hope you're able to share this information as well, because we do need more beds. And there's a lot of families that are, able to get approved, but a lot of care homes aren't familiar. So today we talked about, what CalAIM is. We spoke about why it matters to your facility. We did the overview of how the approval process is going to be, the 5 steps of the approval process and the timeline. We spoke about what things to avoid and what things to definitely do, like those best practices, so that you could be a preferred referrer or a preferred care home for the CalAIM program. Now, I know there aren't a whole bunch of boarding care owners on the call, but I do have a few questions before I go to the next slide. Something for you to just silently think about in your head, or when you're thinking about your partners that you work with in the community, this may be beneficial with them as well. But do you think it would be helpful to have templates? And actually, you know what? I'll go to the next slide so you can see what I'm talking about. Here we go. Do you think it would be helpful for you to have fill in templates that help you, submit the application for CalAIM? And would you think it would be helpful to have step-by-step training to save you time and frustration? Because it is very frustrating when you're trying to submit things and they're kicking it back to you. And how valuable would it be for you to understand the process before opportunities come your way? I think it's valuable for all of us, honestly. I'm sure we all get phone calls of individuals that know they need care, and care is expensive if finances are just not there. So do you think it would be beneficial for you to know this before those families call you? And would anyone here benefit for ongoing support and real world examples? So yes, today we did the overview, and you all will get an ebook after we hang up. Actually, give me maybe an hour, but you'll get an ebook, and it will recap everything we spoke about today in regards to this training. But I definitely think, it could be a value add for you all to take the full course as well. I am launching the full course on July 1st. We're going to be doing a few more of these calls with the community, but we are launching the full course. And this is where I can help you directly with your role, your line of business, and I will walk you through the entire process step by step. I will provide you templates. You'll know exactly which vendor wants what forms and how to submit it. I will provide you with my contacts as well. And that full course, so after July 1st, it's going to be $499. But for the folks that are on this call, our first training, it's only $299. So I'm going to send you the recap, the training. So at least, now your feet are wet. You got enough information to make you dangerous. But if you want the full course, please sign up as soon as possible to get that promotional rate. We will launch it July 1st. And then, of course, it will almost double. The price will go up to $499. So now I would like to open it up to my group and see if anyone has any additional questions for me. Thank you all for passing along the information and for your time today. You have a great day.
Find Caraline. Find care that truly feels like home. The